Now, I'm going to confess something to you, and this confession is probably something that has happened to you too, because for a long time I experienced the same problem in first dates and job interviews. I tried to impress the person in front of me by describing myself. I listed my achievements. I tried to prove how smart and talented I was. In fact, one time I went into the most important job interview of my life. The position was perfect, the salary was beyond my dreams, and I prepared for that interview for days. I memorized all my achievements. When I walked into the interview, I was so confident that I almost felt like I had already gotten the job. But when I read the rejection email that came 2 days later, my world collapsed because I had done everything right. At least I thought I had, until I read a study conducted by Diana Tamir and Jason Mitchell from Harvard University in 2012. This research revealed one of the darkest secrets of our brain. When people talk about themselves, dopamine is released in their brains. That is, exactly the same brain regions that are activated when eating food or earning money are also activated when a person tells their own story. The researchers went even further. They offered money to the participants in the experiment. If they talked about other topics instead of talking about themselves, they would earn more money. But 40% of people refused the money because the neurological pleasure of talking about themselves was stronger than earning money. At that exact point, I understood what I did wrong in that failed job interview. I had talked about myself throughout the entire interview. I had taken all the dopamine. Instead of giving the person in front of me neurological pleasure, I had kept all the pleasure for myself. Now, the information I'm about to give you may seem counterintuitive, but listen because it changed my life. The misconception that most people believe to be true is this: I should present myself well, I should show my achievements. But the truth is the opposite, because research by UCLA researcher Albert Mehrabian shows that people remember you not by what you say, but by how you make them feel. A week later, they remember only 7% of the content of the conversation, while they remember more than 90% of how they felt. Think about it for a second. Those magnificent sentences you prepared for hours, those impressive success stories, the person in front of you will forget most of them, but they will remember how they felt with you for years. Amy Cuddy's research published in Harvard Business Review adds another dimension to this. When people meet you, they subconsciously ask two questions. Can I trust this person? And can I respect this person? The critical point is this: trust always comes before competence. No matter how successful you are, if the person in front of you doesn't trust you, all these qualities are useless. In fact, showing competence without trust backfires. People perceive you as a threat. Research by psychologist Alexander Todorov from Princeton University reveals something even more striking. People make trust decisions in just 100 milliseconds. That means before you even open your mouth, the person in front of you has already decided whether to trust you or not. This decision largely depends on how you look at them, how much interest you show them. So how is trust built? The reciprocity principle in Robert Cialdini's book Influence says this: when a person receives something from you, they subconsciously feel indebted to you. What can you give to the person in front of you? The most valuable thing you can give is genuine interest and sincere curiosity. When you do this, the person in front of you talks about themselves, releases dopamine, and enjoys spending time with you. Also, because they received attention from you, the reciprocity principle kicks in, and they pay this debt by liking you. But now I need to draw a very important ethical line. Using these techniques as manipulation tools is neither ethical nor does it work. Research by Carol Dweck from Stanford University shows that our brain detects the difference between authentic interest and fake interest through micro-expressions and tone of voice within milliseconds. The person in front of you feels whether you're really listening or not. That's why this formula only works when you're genuinely curious. I should also point out that these techniques are designed to build long-term relationships, not short-term gains. If your goal is to deceive someone or obtain a one-time benefit, this formula won't help you because fakeness eventually comes out and you can never regain the trust you've lost. Now let's get to the concrete application. I'm going to give you a 5-step formula. First step, preparation. Before entering the meeting, research the person in front of you and find something you're genuinely curious about. Don't skip this step because without preparation, The questions you ask will remain superficial, and the person in front of you will feel it. Second step, the first 5 minutes. When the meeting starts, begin the conversation by asking questions and not cliché questions. Deep questions. For example, what was the biggest challenge that led you to open this position? Or if you're on a romantic date, what inspired you to start your current job? Third step, active listening. When the person in front of you is talking, don't think about your next question. Just listen and ask follow-up questions based on what you hear. For example, if they say, starting this project was very difficult, you ask, which part was the hardest? This follow-up question sends the message, this person is really listening to me. Here's a tip. If you can't think of a follow-up question, you're probably not really listening. Real listening always generates curiosity. Fourth step, mirroring. People like people who are similar to them. This is called similarity attraction. Slightly mirror the energy level and speaking pace of the person in front of you. If they speak calmly, you speak calmly too. If they're energetic and fast, raise your energy too. Fifth step, strategic opening. After the person in front of you has told their story and started to trust you, then share your own story. But share not only your successes, but also your failures. The phenomenon that researcher Elliot Aronson calls the pratfall effect says this: competent people are found more likable when they make small mistakes because these mistakes humanize them. After learning this formula, a lot changed in my life. 6 months after that failed interview, I went into another job interview, but this time I acted differently. Before entering the interview, I listened to a podcast interview with the company's CEO. When the interview started, my first question was, you talked about your social impact projects in the podcast. How did you arrive at this vision? And for the next 15 minutes, the CEO told his own story, and I just listened. At the end of the interview, he turned to me and said, it was so enjoyable talking to you. While I had said almost nothing about myself up to that point, that's the power of the formula. People don't remember what they talked about with you. They remember how they felt. A friend of mine also couldn't get results from first dates for years. At every date, he tried to talk about himself. Then he tried this formula. He just asked questions and listened. After the date ended, a message came from the other person. Talking to you was so different. I felt so valued. And these are not just two examples. I received similar feedback from hundreds of people who attended seminars teaching this formula. A sales representative said he increased his sales by 40% because he started listening instead of talking in meetings with customers. A lawyer reported that his success rate in front of juries increased dramatically because he started showing more empathy to jury members. This formula is not a magic wand. It doesn't guarantee that every meeting will end successfully, but it gives you an advantage. It allows you to do something that 90% of other candidates don't do. Make the person in front of you feel valued. Now I'm asking you, will you try this formula in your next important meeting? Remember the 5 steps: preparation, questions in the first 5 minutes, active listening, mirroring, and strategic opening. Thousands of people who have applied this formula keep saying the same thing. The person in front of me connected with me in a completely different way. Share your experience in the comments, and if this video added value to you, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.